Do you think the President of the United States is going to say, you should keep having the second best deal in the world?
Carney's words have not gone unnoticed. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today we've got Howard Lutnick, Donald Trump's Secretary of Commerce, absolutely blasting Mark Carney, and he is saying the quiet part out loud. He is breaking apart Carney's political strategy. We've got a bunch more coming from the WF as well. Let's jump into this. Starting this one off, we got some new polling data from David Coletto. We've got 41% for the Liberals, 39% for the Conservatives. We're seeing a slight increase here in the NDP to 8%, and the Greens going back up to 3%. Moving ahead, CTV News with this one. Chinese ambassador urges Canada to move fast to implement new deals signed in Beijing. Oh, was that right? Are they really enthusiastic about our police force working together with their police force and integrating media and tourism, getting their fingers in our national broadcasters? Let me guess, is that at the top of their list? It's funny, even on this live update on CTV News, it says, Lutnick says Carney's Davos speech was political noise, so we'll get to that in a minute. But as long as both China and Canada have adequate sincerity, both sides will be able to translate the important outcomes into reality, says the Chinese ambassador. Wang Di. Such a trustworthy guy, isn't he? Speaking of trustworthy characters, we've got Zelensky at the WF.
But where is the line of leaders who are ready to act? Act now, on land, in the air, at the sea, to build a new global order. You can't build the new world order out of words. Only actions create real order.
This grifter is pushing the same garbage as Mark Carney, this new world order. And let me guess, China's going to be the backbone of this. They're going to charge us forward into this new world order. The rats have been eagerly conspiring to find a way to become hegemonic. What a slime ball. He only cares about money and manpower are running out. Go fix your own country. How about an election for Ukraine? This is out of control. Now, we do have a voice of reason here. We got Sebastian on CTV News here, calling it straight.
Yesterday, Mark Carney talked about the quote, gap between rhetoric and reality. And there really is no person in this country better suited to know about that than Mark Carney himself. We had heard now for over a year, Mark Carney talk about these incredible things, drill, baby, drill, build at unimaginable speeds. That was wonderful rhetoric. The reality, however, is greatly lacking for Canadians. And so when Prime Minister Carney goes in front of an incredibly tough audience in Davos of financiers, bankers, and other globalist types that give him standing ovations, when he goes to that audience, it's easy to say those things. In reality, though, there has been very little in the way of delivery. We're still as dependent on the U.S. as our market as we were a year ago when Prime Minister Carney took office. No major project has actually been built. There's nothing has come online to diversify that trade. So I think Canadians are struggling when they hear this half-hour speech to identify what it means for them in their own lives. They can't put a roof over their head because of Mark Carney's cheap talk. They can't put food on their table because of his wonderful words. And so there's that very big gap that Mark Carney himself will have to bridge when it comes to tackling those domestic issues.
This is what I worry about is, will Canadians just be easily fooled by this? By Mark Carney's speech? Oh, such a great speech. It's like, yeah, you can't eat his words. Moving ahead, we've got a clip from CBC where we're talking about the Greenland situation, Donald Trump getting potential parcels of land, critical mineral rights, all of this. We've got Kate Harrison dropping a truth bomb here.
Okay, so Kate, just going back to the issue of not having a trade deal, and I know a lot of people would prefer to have this settled, but you know, the UK and the EU did have whatever they have. They thought it was settled. Then they got threatened with tariffs unless Denmark gave up 90% of its territory. Now, that's not where it's apparently ended up, but they're giving up chunks of Greenland to him because he demanded it or else, right? So how do you reasonably get a deal with an administration that is acting like this and treating its partners like this? I mean, I just don't know what the path is.
Well, you start by getting back to the table, and the Prime Minister was elected to do just that. He said he was the right guy for the job in order to get back and have, again, his words, a new economic and security partnership with the United States. I know the last 9-10 months has been disruptive. I think that's putting it lightly. For decades and decades and decades before that, we had a stable and secure relationship with our largest trading partner. Going to Davos and giving a speech talking about a significant break in that relationship that serves as the grounds to, again, pursue we're not just talking about trade diversification, but rewriting the nature of relationships that we have with countries, including up until 9 months ago, our enemies. There's a difference between diversifying and then that wholesale shift that the Prime Minister is, I think, making the case for today. We have to remember that the U.S. is going to exist long after Donald Trump. Our relationship with them is very, very close. The Prime Minister was elected to try and get a resolution there, and that should remain part of the focus. So, and speechifying and then not even meeting with the man while there, to me, doesn't advance the Prime Minister's apparent objective of getting back and getting to the trade and negotiation table.
And that's it. It's an apparent objective. What Mark Carney's done here, it's very clear. He knew when he had a minority government, there's only two ways for him to go forward. He needs a majority to roll out his net zero agenda, which he's going to profit off of handsomely to the tunes of potentially a $1.22 billion. So his first approach was just to entice people to come over. Are there millions of dollars being handed over in Chinese bank accounts? Who knows? Is it cabinet positions? Who knows? Some way to entice people to cross the floor to get his majority, but he needed more than just a bare bones majority. He needs a couple extra, because otherwise someone's sick, then something doesn't pass. Someone breaks their leg and they can't vote, then something doesn't pass. You need to have more than just the bare bones majority. Now they're rolling out part two. There's rumors that we got Wilkinson, a couple of these guys are going to be going over to these roles in Belgium and the UK and all this pretty soon. So those by-elections will be up, and then Carney's definitely not going to have the numbers. Their other option is Plan B. What he's doing now is further try to separate from Donald Trump, make him really scary, make him seem like he is destroying our country, cozy up with a dictatorship, in this case two of them, China and Qatar, run another election, try to be really patriotic and get Canadians on side to fight back against the evil Donald Trump and the Americans, and then get a majority government, roll out his grift, destroy Canada, and he gets rich in the process. That's what Mark Carney's doing right now. I don't know if Canadians will enlighten themselves enough before the election to not make the mistake, destroy their children's and their grandchildren's future, but that's where we are today. Going back to the start of it here with David Cochrane,
unless Denmark gave up 90% of its territory. Now, that's not where it's apparently ended up, but they're giving up chunks of Greenland to him because he demanded it or else, right? So
demanded it or else, right? His language here is very selective. Paint Donald Trump as the scariest guy ever. And it's easy to do this because Donald Trump left that door open. They didn't rule out military force because that's the way Donald Trump negotiates. While he's definitely bolsterous and out there sometimes, he's not like insane. He's not going to just start attacking NATO allies, rolling in tanks into Canada. That's not going to happen. But of course, this makes it easy for the CBC and then their top journalists and reporters like David Cochrane. I wanted to show you a different side of David Cochrane. We've got CBC Watcher posting this clip of David Cochrane with the head of the Automotive Association talking about Chinese EVs, bringing them into Canada. David Cochrane here, yes, he is on X. He just unblocks his account to attack people, to launch some clapbacks, and then he locks it down again so you can't reply to him. And what we've got here is CBC Watcher saying David Cochrane is a liberal shill. He's been called out by Senator Cardozo at a committee for holding the opposition to a higher standard than his beloved liberals. And this is all based on this quote here. So it says, the quote, "I'm not asking these questions. I think China is a great, reliable partner." This is what David Cochrane says, but then Cochrane pretends that he didn't say that.
No, look, I get those concerns, and I'm not asking these questions. I think China is a great, reliable partner. I just wonder how the different models work.
So David Cochrane clapped back and said, the actual quote he said is, "I'm not asking these questions because I think China is a great and reliable partner," but that's not what he said. CBC Watcher posted it in half speed.
I get those concerns, and I'm not asking these questions. I think China is a great, reliable partner. I'm not asking these questions. I think China is a great, reliable partner.
There's no because. He just said China is a great and reliable partner. That's his words. If he wants to issue a retraction, then he should do that instead of acting like a complete dingus on X. And then what does he do? He doubles down once again, clapping back to CBC Watcher with, "And maybe at CBC Watcher has a point about my work. He/she watches all of it every day and is still a chronically misinformed idiot who doesn't understand things or chooses to lie all the time. So maybe that's on me." He's just being a condescending jerk. This coming from David Cochrane here, who locks down everything. His account says dormant account unless I'm forced to push back. The same guy who's got a San Francisco 49ers image. I mean, for a national broadcaster, you should have something that looks like Canada as your avatar photo. Like, this just looks ridiculous. Like, sure, it's fine to support American teams, but not as Canada's national broadcaster. A bunch of people shocked in the comments comments that Cochrane even trying to refute this. It's blatantly obvious to anyone who watches this show. He knows when to push back, when to accept an answer, and when to plug the Liberals' talking points. While Cochrane's pushing out the propaganda 24/7 for Mark Carney, what do we have the Americans doing? They've officially pulled out of the World Health Organization. As we see here, $988 million a year. The next highest here is the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Among many of these other ones, we've got World Bank. Canada's down here, $166 million. Another thing coming out of America today is Howard Lutnick. This is Donald Trump's Secretary of Commerce, absolutely dismantling Mark Carney, what he's doing, and just sticking it to him straight. You don't get more of a straight shooting segment than this.
And Canada is just thinking in this arrogant kind of thought.
Well, but just to build on what John is talking about, it's a style question. Can you get the same results without using words like calling leaders weak or their economies decaying, right? Is it necessary to provoke the visceral feeling that we feel among a lot of leaders here and in conversations with international investors? I mean, is there any other way? Is that style more harmful than it is helpful?
Well, I think it creates listening, like people pay attention to it and listen to it. If you just sort of blend in, no one hears anything in Davos, right? Everybody says the same blah, 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 blah. And if you need to break out and you need to say it. So my view is, right, that Canada has never expressed to the world that they have the best deal, the second best deal in the world.
So before he goes into that, I want to comment on that. Her asking him, why do you guys attack politicians and call them out and all this stuff? And while it's not as professional, he's right. If you come out and say, like I just said about David Cochrane, that he's a loser, David Cochrane is a loser. He's selling out his country just to keep his big cushy paycheck. And it does grab attention because not only does it break out of the mold of the blah, 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 as he said at the WF, but also because it's authentic and honest. People find it refreshing when someone speaks the truth. And that's what he's doing here. They're just going to call out these politicians, and yeah, it's not as refined, it's not as polished, but it is the truth.
Best deal in the world is Mexico, because remember, they have USMCA, which means 85% of the Canadian economy comes into the United States for zero. And there he is complaining that he's going to go to China and improve it. What's he going to do? China's delighted to sell to him. But do you think China's going to open their economy to accept exports from Canada? This is the silliest thing I've ever seen. They have the second best deal because Mexico's got a little better deal. They have 25% on the extra 15%, whereas Canada's got 35% on the extra 15%. But give me a break. They have the second best deal in the world. And all I got to do is listen to this guy whine and complain?
Mr. Secretary, in fairness, you've seen from the airplanes, you've seen about a 30% decline in Canadian visitors to the United States, if not significantly more. You've seen a similar type of decline from China. European travelers inbound have come down. There is a sense that people do not want to come to the culture of the U.S., and there is this anger about it. And I just wonder if you think that that's just temporary, or you just sort of dismiss that, or you think it's irrelevant to the actual issues.
I think what that is political marketing. Right? The Canadians have the second best deal in the whole wide world. If they continue this path, right, which is a political path of a certain thing. I'm going to go fly to China. I'm going to open up my markets to China. I'm going to take Chinese electric cars and do all sorts of this stuff. Then when USMCA gets renegotiated
This year,
sort of like towards the end of the summer, in the middle of the summer, do you think the President of the United States is going to say, you should keep having the second best deal in the world? I mean, you guys are such great friends. I mean, they are playing with a set of rules that they haven't really thought
I can
through.
hear it in your voice. You're excited.
Yeah, he just basically threatened to rip up, or that Trump will rip up USMCA. Now, he knows that Carney's doing this as a political play. I'm hoping that Donald Trump just ignores everything that Carney says, kind of sloughs him off like he's not important, but the USMCA just kind of goes along, and Carney doesn't have any ammo, because Carney desperately needs ammo right now. He needs the scary Donald Trump to scare all of the liberal voters to quickly run and hide and grab their packaged meals and hide it under the bed and store some water away, because Donald Trump is coming to steal it all. If he doesn't inflame the situation, then Carney's got nothing, because he doesn't have anything to run on. The price of bacon just shot through the roof in the past 2 weeks, I just saw. Numerous other foods are skyrocketing. The cost of living is awful. Mark Carney said, judge him on the cost of food. Well, it's awful. Maybe it's time for him to go.
About negotiating this, aren't you, later this year?
Well, they've sort of given a sort of a roadmap of saying, so I guess we should change the whole deal, right? You want to be like the rest of the world. You don't want to be this favored neighbor because you've taken it so for granted that you're willing to come to Davos and say there's two hegemonic powers in the world and we're going to decide which one we're going to work with. Really? You're going to either work with the United States of America, where 75% of your economy is totally tied to it, or China? Why would you say that? I think it's political. I think if we take it correctly, we should look at it as just political noise coming out of a prime minister. And maybe this is working for his election, right? Because I don't think it can be real. Because if you took out the math of Canada's economy and it's doing business with the United States of America's $30 trillion economy, there's no such thing as changing what they have today. No one would vote for changing what they had today. Now, maybe they're marketing it well, but they're just for their politics. But they're surely not marketing it well for their fundamental economics for long-term the United States.
The U.S. is doing.
He just exposed Mark Carney's trump card, if we want to use the term. He just blew it wide open. This is something that we've known, but he's blown this wide open now on national television in America, and for liberals to see, because liberals will watch this on CBC or CTV or on other mainstream media news networks. Canadian liberals are bamboozled. It's scary. The liberal comments in here, it is scary. These people are so uneducated. We'll deal with whom we want to deal with. It'll be painful for Canada. Yep. Worth it for us? Yep. Buy America. Like, this is how dumb people are. Our country can't survive without America. Like, we just need to accept that fact, and then we can move forward. But these liberals will not accept that fact. And these liberals are not the young Canadians struggling to get jobs. No, they have piles of money. They're totally fine. And as we saw in the previous one with Kate Harrison, the fact that Carney left Davos without meeting Trump, clearly his priority is not getting a deal. He's not going to get a deal because it takes away his chance of getting a majority government. I am pleased to hear Ludnick saying that they know what the strategy is. Now it's up to them if they want to try to see if they can work around it and not let Carney use that as leverage and get a conservative government, get Pierre Poilievre into power, then we can start fixing our country. Or are we going to burn this thing to the ground? If Mark Carney's little trick works on more swing voters and he gets a majority, this country is going to get run so deep into the ground, I don't know if it'll ever recover.